There is some banding, but then again, this is a very high quality image. We're gonna get back to that later, but for right now, just look at this. Now, we're gonna save a copy of this in JPEG and PNG. So let's do that by going to File, Save a Copy, and let's save a JPEG version. All right, grayscale copy.jpg. Let's keep the quality maximum and hit OK. Similarly, let's go to File, Save a Copy again, and this time let's save it in PNG. There you go. Let's save it, and again, we'll save a large file size and hit OK. Now let's open both of these versions, JPEG and PNG, in Photoshop and see what happens. So let's drag it and drop it at the top. Both are separate documents. So now we are working with JPEG, right? And if we create a curves adjustment layer, see what happens. So I'm gonna make the brights brighter, just like this, and the darks darker. As you can see, the banding, exaggerates. Exaggerate, I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's exaggerates. Anyway, have a look. It's so clear and there's so much bang in it. However, if you copy the same curves adjustment layer by selecting this adjustment layer and pressing Ctrl or Command C to copy it, and let's come back to the PNG version and then you paste it. Have a look at it, my friend. See, does that mean JPEG is bad? Does that mean that you should always use PNG? Well, that's what the video is all about. In this video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of both JPEG and PNG, when to use what, why all of this is happening, and many other interesting concepts. At the end, I have a bonus surprise for you. So without any further ado, let's get started. By the way, that bonus might be a little boring, but it's very important. Like the mystical, mysterious, magical, and brilliant world of Photoshop, if you want to go ahead and download any of the photos or assets to follow along, everything is downloadable by using the link in the description. Now, first of all, let's talk about the size and image quality. Let's start by analyzing illustrations or flat graphics, not real photographs. By flat graphics or illustration, I mean the photos where you can count the number of colors. For instance, have a look at this illustration. You can count. There is brown, there is yellow, there is white, so you can count the number of colors. In a real photograph, it's just impossible. There are like 16 million colors. So let's understand how the size and image quality comes into play in these kinds of flat illustrations or graphics. Now, when we go to File, Export, Export As, I'm choosing this so that we can clearly see the difference between the size. First of all, let's choose PNG. Now, let's zoom in about 800% so that you can clearly see what is happening in there. Now, with PNG, every color seems to be in order. Everything seems to be in place. We have zoomed in 800% and then we are seeing some pixels along the edge. There's no artifacts. So this image quality is just perfect. Keep in mind, PNG is lossless. It does not lose quality as you export it. JPEG is lossy. So have a look at the size. It's 567.2 KB. Now if you choose JPEG, and that too of the highest quality right there, here as well, you don't see much problems. No artifacts and everything just seems to be in order. However, if you look at the size, it's just double, right? 1.1 MB right there. Now, if we try to match the size to what the PNG was, see what happens. So I'm just going to decrease the quality to about very good. Size is about the same. And as soon as you do that, have a look at the plethora of artifacts. Look at the plethora of artifacts right there. Even if you go with excellent, which is a little higher size, 633, you still see these artifacts. Now with JPEG, even with great, you might see some artifacts here and there if you look closely. Right now, let's cancel it and let me show you one more example. But with PNG, be assured that there's gonna be none because it is lossless. All right, let's see this example. This is, as you know, Pixel Perfect logo. And let's go to File, Export, and Export As. Now, some of you are wondering, why should I use Export As, or when should I use Save As, or Save a Copy, and whatnot. We have videos about that. You can check that up in the description. With PNG, have a look at the size. It's 70 KB. And with JPEG, have a look at the greatest size. It's 167. It's just more than double right here. And there's of course a chance of losing details as it is lossy. Now let's go to PNG back again. And in this image, we don't need transparency. So if you just check that off, have a look, the size even decreases. Now it's 3 times smaller than JPEG. By now we have confirmed that in graphics where you can just count the number of colors, in those cases PNG is hands down better. But what about photographs, like real photographs? And in this case, I've chosen this photograph purposefully because first of all, it has a lot of colors. It's a real photograph and it will be interesting to see how PNG handles it. So let's go to File, Export, Export As. Now if we try to save it in PNG, have a look, it's still processing. It's taking time. And have a look at the size, my friend. It's 28.6 MB. It's not even that big of an image. Now let's zoom in. And let's focus on an area. Now keep in mind there's no problem with image quality, it's just the size is crazy. Now let's try JPEG. Right now, it is at good. Let's keep it at the best quality right here. And just have a look at the size. It is 9.5. That one was 28. Like 3 times. Wow. In images like this, JPEG wins. Now you might be wondering, there's an option for a smaller size with PNG, right? Why can't we choose that? Well, if you go back to PNG, there's an option for a smaller file. If you click on that, see what happens. See, it's still processing. We're gonna have to wait for that. So if we check that, still processing. Now have a look at the colors. It's finally done. It is just absolutely unworkable. And the interesting part here is that even with the smaller file, the size is just as same as the highest quality JPEG. Now when it comes to flat graphics, even if you check smaller file, you won't notice any of it. Unless you have like super complex colors. Zoom in, you won't notice any of it. And the size goes even lower. So it's like 180 if you choose JPEG highest quality. It's going to be 1.1. See the difference, 180 KB, 1.1 MB, right? Now, if you're feeling confused, don't worry, we got you covered. We're going to sum it up later. But for right now, let's move on to the next topic, and that is banding and bits. Remember this document that I showed you in the beginning of the video? Just as a reminder, we have a solid color adjustment layer, and on top of that, we just have a simple radial gradient. Now, here's an interesting fact that I didn't show you before, and that is if you go to image mode, you would notice that this document is 16 bits per channel. Now, if I go ahead and create a curves adjustment layer, and if I try to do anything like increase the contrast, have a look, you don't see any banding right here. However, if I do this with an 8-bit document, let's go to image mode, and let's change this to 8 bits. And now when you do it, you would notice a lot of banding. The more you increase the contrast, the more clearly defined these bandings get. It almost looks like a design. So that is why I recommend working in 16 bits. Even if you export it in 8-bit, that's fine. But work in 16 bits so that you can minimize the effects of all of these adjustments combining together to potentially create banding and other artifacts. We don't want that. So that is why work in 16 bits. If you're working on a very complex composite, I recommend it. If it's a simple work, it's not necessary, but this is something to keep in mind. So let's change it back to 16 bits. And at this point, we don't need this curves. Now, we did already save a copy of this image in both JPEG and PNG in the beginning of the video. Besides the banding difference, there was one more difference. Let me share that with you. And this, my friend, is going to be the missing link of how all of this is working. So let's open both of these back into Photoshop. Now, as you already know, if you create a curves adjustment layer here with the JPEG, you do see the banding. But if you do the same with the PNG, you don't see the banding. Why is it? Can you guess? I just already shared this with you. Have you guessed it yet? No? Yes? Either way, congratulations. You want to learn more. That's why you're watching this video. All right. So with PNG, if you go to image mode, it is 16-bit still. But with JPEG, if you go to image mode, it is converted to 8-bit. What does that tell you? No matter what you do, this is a fact. As of recording this video, JPEG does not support 16-bit. So that is one advantage, very big advantage for PNG file format. Coming to the most important differentiator between PNG and JPEG, and you guys already know this, and that is PNG supports transparency and JPEG does not. PNG not only supports transparency, but it also supports the amount of transparency, or in other words, opacity.
So I see a lot of you are leaving comments because you're asking how long your hair should be for a certain hairstyle. Well, we're gonna break it down today and make it as simple as possible. So let's use a little bit of common sense here, okay? If your hair is maybe 2 inches long on the top of your head, but you want your hair to have a style where the hair is like 7 inches long in length, let's just think about this, okay? It's not gonna happen, all right? Like if you see something, a hairstyle that you like, and it's a lot longer than the hairstyle or haircut or hair length you even have, like just be true to yourself and use some common sense saying my hair is not gonna look like that. And there's no magic pill that you can take overnight or nothing you can do to make your hair grow 5 or 6 inches in like a night, okay? You just have to be patient and let it grow out. So in order to achieve the hairstyle like this, where it's all in your face and you can get some like flips, or you want that like TikToker flip, stuff like that, you see what happens. If the hair is not long enough, it's not gonna be able to go back and then push up in the front like this, all right? The hair needs to be long enough, which is like down to almost like the tip of the nose or the bridge of the nose, for it to go back up this way, because the hair has to kind of like loop, it has to like loop around this way. So if you have a haircut that's like, I don't know, say this long, and this was a cool hairstyle, don't get me wrong, but it keeps falling down the middle or flopping down, yeah, your hair may be a good length, but you might not have the right hair texture, you might not have the right haircut. A lot of it comes down to making the hair feel a certain texture. That's why I always suggest using Tidal Wave, because Tidal Wave, it's my sea salt spray, my #1 best-selling product. We had it reformulated with much better performance, an updated scent, which smells like the beach. It smells incredible. This will give your hair the texture it needs. Trust me, this product, this remake of this product, this is the second formulation of this, which the first one was already incredible. This is better, okay? It gives you even more texture and volume than before. You spray this in when the hair is wet, and you need to have the hair feel like it's a little bit gritty. You're not gonna be able to manipulate the hair, because if you keep trying this, and I get comments all the time, you keep trying this and it keeps falling flat. You keep trying this, you don't wanna use any product, that's the biggest issue. You need a support system from products in order to get this. You need the right brush, you have to know how to blow dry, you need to use a locked hairspray. I mean, there's a bunch of other things that you need. So, when I see people leaving comments like, oh, my hair just falls flat, and I say, well, what are you doing? They're like, oh, I just like let it air dry, it does nothing. I'm like, well, so the hair length, okay, for styles like this, is you see how long this hair, I mean, I have to bring this mannequin head down even further, because look how long the hair is. This is, I don't know, this is probably like 6 inches or so, and again, everyone's so hung up on how long is the hair, how long is the hair. It really is a matter of like, just pull the hair from your head and see if it's the right length, or if the hair does what you need it to do to achieve that style, right? Don't be so caught up on measurements. It's like, if the hair is doing what you want, then it's at the right length, okay? But you can see all of this hair, it's pretty long. It's like, to some people, this is just way too much hair, okay? Way too much hair. But you can see what I'm doing here. You can actually create a variety of cool hairstyles with your hair a bit longer. You can brush it over to the side, you can have a nice side part. But the thing that a lot of people want, obviously, is like that flip, where it's down in the face like this, it's messy, you've got all these, this crazy texture going on. And yes, I get it. There are people who just absolutely hate this hairstyle. It makes no sense to you. I get it. But there's also, a group of people who love this hairstyle, want this hairstyle, and, want to know how to get it. So the hair length needs to be right. You can see how long the hair is. I just want to demonstrate to you guys that there's a lot more to it than just having longer hair. Again, the right haircut, it's tapered down throughout the sides here. It's all blended into the haircut. I would not suggest going to a barber for something like this who's going to spend 15 minutes on your hair. But whoever you go to, make sure that they know what they're doing. Doesn't matter. You could find a barber who knows how to do it. You can find hairstyles. Either way, find a professional who has done these types of haircuts before. Look at their Instagram page. Look at their work. What kind of work are they producing? That's who you need to go to, okay? And if you get a bad haircut, unfortunately, I can't help you. That's on them, right? And remember, you're paying them. You're not paying me for my advice. You're paying the professional who's cutting your hair for their time, for their expertise. Hopefully, they're an expert at it. You're paying them. If you get a bad haircut or you don't know what to do with your hair, I appreciate you watching my channel. I try to give loads of free information to you 5 days a week. If you have an issue, you're not paying me to cut your hair, so it's really hard for me to tell you what face shape you have, break down how to get the most perfect haircut when the guy who's cutting your hair can't even do it already. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that goes into getting your haircut and finding the right person. Let me know if you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Hey friends, it's Akideers, and welcome everybody to another episode of Why Japan. This is a series that I do where I go out and find different Japanese products, buy them, and bring them out on camera, test them out, and give my review of them. Some of them may look a little strange at first, but surprisingly useful, and some of them may be, So I have brought 3 products here today to test out on camera to show you guys. So without further ado, our first product today, my cabbages! Actually, what, no. This is a bag of lettuce, or so you would think. It's a notebook that looks like lettuce! You might be asking, how does that work? Why would anyone want that? Why would I want a notepad that looks like lettuce? Because you can.